Blender fans, and welcome to Blender TC. In today's tutorial we're going to cover leaves on an object to make a bush, and right at the end I'll be showing you how we can actually use this in a collection, actually make something really quite special. Let's first of all start our scene. So we'll delete the actual cubes and press delete. The shape we're going to be using is a cone, so I'm just going to add in a object, and the mesh is going to be a simple cone. Now, as you can see, this cone, if we open this up, has got 32 vertices. We don't want 32, we only need 6, so press 6 and enter. Now the cone is a bit too sharp, so we're going to actually flatten this out. So scale by hitting the S key, then Z, and then just move your mouse, and as you can see we've now actually scaled this in the Z. Press the full stop just to actually reset the viewport, but what we want to do is change it slightly because we don't need this bottom face. The tab key to enter edit mode, select this face. You've got point select, line select and face, so actually select the face. Press the X key and this will only feature this, only faces, and we'll get rid of that. Right, for this tutorial to work, what we need to do is make sure that the origin is at the top of this point. Press the tab key to make sure you're in edit mode. You know you're in edit mode because all these actually appear. I'll just move this out slightly because I prefer it to look like that, and as you can see it says you're in edit mode up here. A to select all of your cone, and if we press the 1 key to look from the front, what we're going to do is move this down, G and Z, down to about there. As you can see, we've got an origin point, which is this little yellow dot, and this is very important when we're making our bush. Pressing the tab key, as you can see the origin stays above it, and then just to fix it we're going to actually rotate this along the X. What we're going to do is actually make it so the actual point points away from us. So we're going to rotate in the X by -90. As you can see, the point now points away from us towards the back of our screen. And what I'm going to do is press the Control and A because I want to fix the rotation and scale. I'll just show you what this does. As you can see, it says that this has a rotation of -90 on here. Did that by pressing the N key to open this panel, and this tells you certain things. So let's have a go. Press Control and A, rotation and scale, and as you see this is now zeroed, which means everything actually is enabled and this will work properly. Now let's create our leaves. Right, the cone is going to be called leaf because it's going to be our leaf. So I've renamed the cone by clicking up here, and we're going to actually press the 1 key just to look from the front. Down in here we're going to add in a texture, an image texture. Let's just add the image texture. In fact, let's just go into render mode because you'll be able to see it even better. Let's go down here, new. In the base colour we're going to actually hit this little yellow dot, go image texture. Now we've attached an image texture. In my community tab I've given quite a few different photographs of leaves that have been edited by me. All you've got to do is download these from my community tab, so just feel free to download these and they are free to use. New, open, and I'm going to actually go to where I've saved them, and the first one I'm going to actually load is the actual leaf 1, like that. And as you can see the actual UVs are not very clear, and the reason for that is that we haven't UV unwrapped this yet. So pressing the 1 key to look from the front, we're going to press A and then U and then project from view. This has now unwrapped it, so if we go back out of edit mode, as you can see the center of our image is there, but we'd like it to be there, and of course we'd like it to be a lot smaller. So we're going to go into UV editing to edit our image. So I'm just going to select the cube, A, and then scale this up like that so it actually covers all of our image. I'm just going to rotate this just so it lines up a bit with that leaf there. And as you can see, part of the leaf is actually gone there. So what I'm going to do is, first of all, selecting all the object, we're going to just move this G to move it anywhere, and then move that into the center. Then we'll rotate. And then a bit of adjustment by just selecting the points, and just G to actually select these points. And I'm just going to quickly to create our leaves. Now it does help if all your actual leaves are exactly the same size and are pretty straightforward. As you can see, we've now got our cone, but you can't see the image, so let's go back into layout. And as you can see now, our image is now put in the center of our cone. So a little bit of work on this. What we're going to do now is we're going to actually make this transparent. We do this by going into shading, because the actual images that I've saved have been given a transparency, also known as alpha. So what we're going to do is actually take the alpha, move this into alpha in the texture we created, and next what we need to do is make the transparent parts transparent, which are these black areas. So going back into our texture, this is very rarely shown, and we're just going to enable a few things. Screen space reflections, or is it refractions? I can never remember. Screen space refractions, alpha clip, and alpha clip. And as you can see now, our plants are transparent. So we've created our leaves, and all we need to do now is attach them to an object. So back into layout, and what we're going to do is we're just going to move this out of the way, out of screenshot, G and X, just to move it right away. As you can see, it's still pointing away from us, which means that the actual leaves will grow out of whatever object we actually create. So G and X, I'm just going to move it right out the way. It still exists, G and X. Me personally, I like to actually put a floor in and hide objects like this underneath the floor, but it's entirely up to you where you hide your objects. I'm going to add in a mesh, and the mesh I'm going to add in is a UV sphere, like that, and this is what we're going to actually attach our leaves to. So I'm going to add in a particle system. So looking at this, we've added a particle system. I'm just going to put plus. I'm just going to call this leaf particle. So we've done this. This is our particle system. I'm going to enable hair, and the source, I'm going to leave it as faces because that might work quite well. In the render tab, we go down here. There's a couple of things we need to enable. I don't want the emitter to show because I just want the actual leaves to show. And in the viewport, I still don't want the actual emitter to show, so I'm going to take it off on both of these. So as you can see, the ball there is back, but it's invisible. Next, go back into the render, and instead of path, we're going to actually select object. As you can see, we'll take this right up to 1 for the random scale, leave that at 0.05, and in the instance we're going to actually select our leaf that we created at the beginning, like that. And as you can see, quite simply, we've actually created our leaves on our model, and they're all going the wrong way. So I got that wrong. We make mistakes occasionally. So the leaves need to point away from us. So I'm just going to rotate this. Rotate on the X by 180. And then of course you've got to actually fix rotation and scale. But let's just fix rotation and scale. Control and A. Rotation and scale. And as you can see, now our leaves all point outwards, which is the actual correct thing we want to do. Just showed you that done the wrong way for a simple reason that it actually shows you what to do if you find out that your leaves are going the wrong way. Yeah, really, honestly. Yeah, everybody makes mistakes, so let's just carry on. What we've got here now, a bush with a round bush with leaves on it. You can control how many particles you want by just increasing this number here, and you can control how much random you want by going into here and you can make them super huge leaves, or you can make them tiny little leaves, and increase this to maybe 20,000. Oops, 20,000. As you can see, we got thousands and thousands of leaves. I'm just going to leave this at 500. Makes it easier on my computer. And then turn this up 0.06. In fact, let's make it 1,000. So I've created this, and now comes the good bit. What we're going to do now is we're going to actually make a variation of these leaves and then make some flowers coming out of this. What I'll do is press the full stop to actually zoom in on this item. So we've got our leaf here, and what we're going to do is duplicate this a number of times and add a different texture to each variation. But first of all, we need to actually create a thing called a collection. Click on the scene, right click, new collection. Now I'm going to call this new collection leaves, and I'm going to drop the leaf into this collection, into the leaves collection, because once I duplicate it, I want it to actually fill this up. So Shift and D just to create a G and X. Sorry, Y. So I've created a second leaf, and as you can see, it appears here. And I'm going to do the same again. Shift and D and X. Keep wanting to say X, but it's Y. Shift and D, G and Y, and Shift and D, G and Y. So I've now created all of these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different leaves. Shift and D, G and Y, and we're going to do 6 different leaves. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and the first one's just called leaf, and the last one I'm going to call flower, because I'm going to make that into a flower. So what it's going to do is randomly pick between these, but because only one is a flower, then it's going to actually make this work. Right, the flowers I want to actually appear above the leaves, so I'm just going to slightly alter this. A, G and Y. A took me into edit mode, and G and Y, as you can see, the origin point staying there, and I'm just moving it well away from the origin point, so my flowers appear above my leaves. Right. So we've got the first one, that was image 1, and if we go into the material, as you can see, that's material 1. I'll go into the next one, and I'm just going to duplicate this, buy it in this new material, and make that 2. And then what we can do is we can simply change this to leaf 2. Leaf 2. As you can see, it looks very similar. Let's go into this one. We're going to duplicate again, make that material 3, and change that to leaf 3. The leaves on this are quite similar. Leaf 3's only got 3 leaves, so that should become quite evident. And then we're going to actually go to leaf 4, so we need to go up here, create the new material, which makes it material 4, and change it to leaf 4. Leaf 4. Right, I'm going to leave these two, that one just the same, because all it's doing is repeating the first one anyway, so it doesn't really matter about changing that. And the very last one, I'm going to make my flower. Duplicate one more time, number 5, into here, and I'm going to select my flower. Pick this one, rose 1. Right, these are also found in my communities tab. So what we've done now is we've got 5 leaves and 1 flower, but as you can see, we cannot see it here because this is not actually looking at our collection yet. So we've got all the leaves and 1 flower. Click back on your collection, click on your sphere, go down to your actual particle system, and we're going to do one simple change. And the simple change we're going to do is, as it says object here, render as object, we're going to actually render it as the collection, and the instance of the collection is going to be leaves. And if we now look at this, as you can see, whoops, we've created a bush with some occasional flowers. And the reason it's doing this, what it's doing is it's cycling through the actual collection. You've got a few settings down here. Random pick means it does it randomly. Whole collection like that. Global does something absolutely totally weird. Don't tend to use global. And object rotation totally tends to mess it up, so I never tend to use that because the flowers go all over, and as we know, the flowers always search for light, same as the leaves do, so it's better if it just actually goes on pick random, which actually just changes their origin slightly. Right, so we've created our collection, we've created our flowers, so let's just add this collection into a different shape. So I'm just going to move this G and X to one side. I'm just going to move this collection now down off the screen completely. G and Z just to take it out of the way. So I've took this out off of my viewport and I'm just going to scale this up slightly. I'm going to add in a few more shapes. So I'm going to add in the monkey, which of course is Suzanne, and I'm also going to add in a Taurus. Sorry, G and A. So I've now got another two shapes. So there's a ball shape, so you can actually make bushes, so create the statues, then add the particle selection, and the actual flowers and the actual leaves will attach to a statue or a building. And so let's attach this particle system to Suzanne. Now, as you can see, Suzanne and everything are actually in our main collection. If you find out that things have actually gone into your leaf collection, all you've got to do is actually move them up into the actual primary collection to make this work. Go into Suzanne, add a particle system, but what we're going to do is we're going to actually select the very first particle system, which is the same one that is actually attached to the sphere. There we go. So we've attached that to Suzanne, and same with this one. We can actually attach these to attach the same particle system and select the first one, and there we go. And just the same as this, say you wanted to actually make a statue, but you wanted the statue to appear underneath it, then you might want Suzanne to actually appear, or not, as the case may be, in showing emitter. And now Suzanne has vanished. Add in a simple plane. I'm just going to scale this up. It does show the actual shadows being cast by these shapes. So as you can see, the leaves actually cast shadows. Hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and it's just a quick way of actually adding a bit of life to a scene when you create it in Blender, and it's just a bit of fun, but it shows you how to use the collection, how to use a transparent texture in Blender. So if you found this tutorial useful, please pass it on to your friends, and of course hit that like and subscribe button to my channel. Thank you for joining me on Blender TC. Bye for now.